Okay, so Ripple just moved $95 billion through Europe. And I know what you're thinking. Another big number, another announcement, who cares? But listen, this one's different. This isn't some pilot program or test run. This is actual money moving across borders right now, today, through Ripple's system. And barely anyone's talking about it. Here's what's actually going on. Remember when Ripple got that full license to operate in the EU? Most people saw that as just regulatory news, boring paperwork. But what it actually meant was Ripple could flip the switch and start processing real payments across all 27 European countries immediately. And that's exactly what happened. Within weeks, boom, 95 billion in transaction volume. That's not money sitting in accounts. That's money actually moving. Businesses paying suppliers, banks settling with each other, remittance companies sending money home, all flowing through Ripple's infrastructure because now they legally can. And turns out, it works way better than the old system. Let me explain why this number matters. Banks don't throw billions at new technology for fun. They test carefully, start small, maybe a few thousand, then millions. If everything works over months, maybe they scale up. Going from testing to 95 billion means European banks aren't experimenting anymore. They've fully committed. This is production. This is their actual payment system now. Think about how international money moves right now. It's honestly ridiculous. Send euros from Germany to Thailand? Your bank converts euros to dollars, bounces through 2 or 3 middleman banks. Each takes a cut, each adds time. Finally converts to Thai baht 3 or 4 days later. You paid fees at every step, plus got a terrible exchange rate. Now here's what Ripple does. Same transaction. Convert euros to XRP, send it. Takes 3 seconds. Convert to baht, done. One transaction, tiny fee, money arrives instantly. That's not theory anymore. That's what's processing 95 billion right now. And here's the thing nobody gets. European banks didn't adopt this because they love crypto or believe in decentralization. They adopted it because it saves them money. When you're moving billions every year, even shaving 0.5% off fees is millions in savings. Finance people don't care about ideology. They care about the bottom line. Ripple's cheaper and faster. That's the pitch. This is not financial advice. But let's talk about what this means for XRP specifically. Not every Ripple payment uses XRP. Some use their stablecoin RLUSD. Some just use Ripple's messaging system. But a lot of the high-volume stuff uses on-demand liquidity, and that runs on XRP. So when billions flow through those corridors, XRP is getting bought and sold constantly. Real utility, real volume, not speculation. If you want to understand how this payment stuff translates into price eventually, how to track what institutions are really doing versus what influencers hype, I built a crypto course that breaks this down. Real case studies, not moon predictions. How to read data, spot actual adoption versus marketing. Most people are just guessing. Links in the description. So why is 95 billion such a big deal? First, it proves European banks actually want this. Ripple didn't bribe anyone or fake numbers. Banks voluntarily switched because the old system sucks and this one's better. That's organic demand. Completely different from DeFi projects that pay people to use their platform. Second, it proves Ripple's strategy of playing nice with regulators worked. Crypto people spent years saying Ripple sold out by working with governments. But while everyone else fights regulators or operates in gray areas, Ripple got legal permission and immediately started processing 95 billion. Turns out compliance matters when working with actual banks. Third, Ripple moved fast. Got approved and within weeks hit 95 billion. That means everything was ready. Relationships built, technology tested, contracts negotiated, just waiting for legal green light. Most companies spend 6 months onboarding after approval. Ripple flipped a switch. Fourth, this creates a moat. Every European bank that integrates Ripple isn't switching next year to a competitor. Banks don't change payment infrastructure like phone apps. Once it's working, it stays. So Ripple locking in $95 billion worth of volume means competitors are already behind. Now, you might wonder, if this is huge news, why didn't XRP price explode? Valid question. Retail wants instant reactions. Announcement drops, price moons, everyone gets rich. That's not how institutional adoption works. When real utility grows, institutions accumulate slowly during boring consolidation. They don't front-run announcements. They build positions when retail gets impatient and sells. Look at the data. XRP on exchanges hit multi-year lows, people moving it into long-term storage. Not selling, holding. Whale wallets keep accumulating. ETF inflows stayed positive for 40-plus days straight even while price went sideways. That's institutional money quietly building while retail panics. Compare Ripple's $95 billion to competitors. Tether processes massive volume, but most is traders moving money between exchanges, not real payments. Circle's USDC does real payment volume, but Circle doesn't have the full infrastructure Ripple built. They issue a stablecoin, that's it. Ripple has the payment system, bank relationships, regulatory licenses, everything. Swift moves trillions, sure, but Swift is just messaging. Banks sending notes saying, "We owe you this." Actual settlement still takes days and costs a fortune. Ripple does messaging and settlement instantly. Different game. Here's something people miss about why XRP matters, even with stablecoins. High-volume payment routes need deep liquidity. Market makers provide it, but charge spreads. XRP has some of the deepest liquidity in crypto after Bitcoin and Ethereum. When moving millions or billions, XRP gives better execution than most alternatives. As European volume grows from 95 billion to hundreds of billions, that liquidity depth becomes critical. You can't use random tokens to move $1 billion without crashing the price. You need massive pools. XRP has that. That's why on-demand liquidity keeps growing even as stablecoin adoption increases. Different tools for different jobs. There's also a network effect. First European bank integrates Ripple. Takes forever. Months of evaluation, testing. Second bank sees success, moves faster. Third bank references both, even faster. By 20 banks, new ones integrate in weeks because all case studies exist, compliance questions answered, proof there. Where does this go? 95 billion sounds massive, but compared to total European cross-border volume, tiny. Trillions move between Europe and the world yearly. If Ripple captures even 5%, we're looking at exponentially more volume. More volume means more XRP utility, more stablecoin adoption, more fees burned, more legitimacy, more partnerships. XRP ETF flows show institutions positioning for this. Consistent inflows during boring price action, not retail FOMO. Institutions evaluating fundamentals, transaction growth, regulatory wins, infrastructure scaling, and allocating methodically. They're not trading, they're investing long-term. If you want to learn how to track institutional flows, interpret adoption data, understand payment corridor economics, that's what the crypto course covers. Actual frameworks, not hopium. How Treasury executives think. How to decide based on data instead of Twitter hype. Most retail gets wrecked following influencers who don't understand institutional finance. Links in the description. Let me tackle the question everyone asks. If Ripple can use RLUSD stablecoins, why does XRP matter? Because they solve different problems. RLUSD is perfect when both sides want dollar exposure. Zero volatility. Super predictable. Great for those use cases. But XRP solves problems stablecoins can't handle well. Corridors where banks don't want capital locked in pre-funded accounts. Emerging markets where stablecoin infrastructure barely exists. High-volume routes needing the deepest liquidity. Instant settlement where speed matters more than holding dollar value. Those use cases aren't disappearing, they're growing. Plus, every RLUSD transaction on XRP Ledger burns tiny XRP fees. As stablecoin volume scales to billions and trillions, fees add up. Constant deflationary pressure. So RLUSD growing helps XRP. They're not competing, they're working together. Two tools, same toolbox. Bottom line, 95 billion through Europe isn't marketing fluff or vaporware. It's proof that major banks are using Ripple in production right now to move real money because it legitimately works better than the legacy system. That volume creates real XRP utility, burns fees, validates the strategy, and builds competitive advantages. And this is just Europe, just the beginning. Want frameworks to track how this scales, what signals matter, how to position without just guessing? That's the course. Stay ready, stay liquid,